What family tradition did you realize was actually illegal? So growing up, my family had this, let's call it a quirky tradition that I didn't think twice about until I was well into my late 20s. Every year on New Year's Eve, my extended family, the place was like a throwback, no cell service, barely any cops around, and absolutely zero neighbors for miles. Perfect for, well, doing some stuff we probably shouldn't. Now this tradition started long before I was born, and I only found out about it because my dad spilled the beans when I was a teenager and started asking questions. See, every year right at midnight, once the fireworks died down and everyone's had a few drinks, my uncle would lead everyone into this massive bonfire pit out back. The twist? It wasn't just for warmth or vibes. This bonfire was literally the event where the whole family would burn any weed we had left over from the year. Back in the day, my grandpa was this wild card who once ran with some pretty shady crowds. I'm talking smuggling and underground dealing in the 70s. But he quit all that decades ago, trying to keep a lid on illegal stuff. Still, his house was this infamous safe haven for everyone who liked to smoke or stash because he never insisted on legality, only loyalty and discretion. So, every New Year's Eve, instead of tossing stale bud or bits of hash into the trash, which you know can lead to cops sniffing it out, we'd toss it all into the fire and watch it burn up in a glorious smoky celebration of the end of the old year's stash. I thought this was some family folklore bullshit until a couple years ago when I was chatting casually with a buddy who's an actual lawyer. I was joking about how our tradition was basically a ritual to renew the weed gods or whatever nonsense. I laughed and said, yeah, we all just burn illegal weed en masse. No big deal. The laugh died pretty fast when he said, wait, you burn controlled substances in a bonfire? You know that's actually illegal, right? Like, felony level. Illegal, and you guys could have all gone to jail out there. I honestly couldn't believe it. Not because the cops would actually come to this godforsaken spot, we were way too deep in the woods for anyone but the trees to notice, but because nobody ever even considered this double-layered crime from the family tradition. For us, it was just fun and symbolic. A last puff farewell to the year's highs. Fast forward to this year, I decided to switch things up. Instead of hiding the stash to burn again, I told my family, at least those who could handle the truth, that we needed to retire the tradition for good, because it was stupidly illegal and reckless. Most laughed it off or thought I was overreacting, but I was serious. I did some digging and realized there's actually a legal way to dispose of cannabis biomass in some counties. They incinerate it properly in licensed facilities. Not some backyard bonfire with beers and fireworks. Here's where revenge comes. My uncle, the leader of the annual bonfire, scoffed at me and said I was ruining tradition. So I did something wild. I secretly collected his personal stash over the year. He's got a massive operation and arranged for it all to be surrendered anonymously to the local authorities. Meaning, when New Year's hit, his prized stash was gone. No stash, no bonfire weed to burn. That night, while the family was drunkenly gearing up to torch the leftover bags, I casually dropped the bomb that someone cleaned house early. My uncle freaked, tried to accuse me, but I played it cool and said, call the cops if you want, tell them you lost your stash, but there's no more illegal burning tonight. The entire group was stunned. For once, the wild party didn't come with smoke smells or bonfire shadows. I made my point clear: old traditions don't give anyone immunity from the law, especially when you're sitting on a literal powder keg of illegal activities. He's been on edge, constantly looking over his shoulder and calling leery friends. Meanwhile, I've earned solid respect from the younger generation in my family for basically dismantling an outdated and dangerous setup. So yeah, turns out that whole family tradition was not only illegal, but dumb as hell. Glad I was the one to break the cycle before something worse happened, like a wildfire or a real detective arrest. Ada for ruining a generation's old family weed-burning bonfire ritual? Nah, I think I saved us all from a nightmare.